live from the drama-free true crime destination. It's the time where every story finds its edge, every opinion lands with weight, and every moment leads here. This is the final word. And a good Friday evening, and for those of you who are celebrating, happy Halloween. Welcome to the final word after hours. Ernest Bethea, the last outlaw here. So good to have you all in the house this evening. When I got ready to do this edition of the final word, I was not expecting to go deep diving into one particular case, but that's the nature of covering true crime. So tonight I am still digging in to the Melodee Buzzard case, and I have a lot of new developments to cover. And with that being said, I want to bring to your attention, before I get started, I want to bring to your attention this. And normally I would start off with my own opening statement, but instead I am going to leave that to an expert. But let me say this to all of you. Court TV's own Julie Grant laid this foundation. Now we're building a reckoning. Melodee Buzzard's story is not just a case, it's a mirror. Tonight, we're going to hold it up to the system, to the silence, and to ourselves. In fact, Julie's going to be saying what a lot of us are thinking. Tonight, we're going to say it just a little bit louder. Ashlee Buzzard. Melodee's mother was given 72 hours to produce Melodee or face charges. 72 hours have already passed. And 72 hours without Melodee, that's not just suspicious, guys. It's unconscionable. Ashlee Buzzard, as I mentioned, her name, it's not just a name and a headline. She's the last known link to a child, her child, who vanished. And silence, it's not protection, it's complicity. So without any further ado, I'm going to take myself off the screen. I am going to bring Julie on because, courtesy of this past Wednesday, it's now time for her opening statement.
Cuff her already. What's the holdup? Last week, Ashlee Buzzard was reportedly given 72 hours to produce her daughter Melodee or face arrest. She hasn't complied, and in my opinion, she needs to be jailed. Right now, she should be charged with child neglect and obstruction of justice because she's showing a complete lack of concern for her daughter Melodee's safety, and she's refusing to help police find her. What kind of mother acts like that? Most moms would go to the ends of the earth for their missing child. But this sorry excuse for a mother allegedly had her child wearing a disguise while she drove from California to Nebraska and returned home without her daughter. Cuff her already. We can only hope and pray that precious Melodee Buzzard is alive and well. It's clear we're not going to get that information from her mother, the woman whose job it is to protect her 9-year-old daughter. So let's together send up good vibes and prayers for Melodee Buzzard and hope that someone soon can find her and bring her back home.
In the words of my pastor, and all God's people said amen. So I'm going to go ahead and represent that and say amen. In fact, I'm gonna drop a quote from a legendary iconic character when I get ready to say this. First off, I totally agree with everything Julie Grant just said. All this time, and Melodee still hasn't been produced. She hasn't been found, and mom is still keeping mum. Sheriff Roscoe P. Coltrane from the Dukes of Hazzard may have said this with a grin, but tonight, I'm saying it with grit. Ashlee Buzzard should be cuffed and stuffed by now. And trust me, the way I say it, cuffed and stuffed, that's not just a catchphrase. It's just long overdue. Let's let's go ahead and get into the let's go ahead and get into this deep dive here. I'm gonna start off with the updated timeline courtesy of the Santa Barbara Sheriff's Department. All right. All right. Here we go. This is actually from last week. Sheriff's detectives are releasing an updated timeline and recently obtained surveillance images as they continue their search for the missing 9-year-old Melodee Buzzard. The investigation began on October 14th, 2025, when a school administrator reported Melodee's extended absence. Deputies responded to a residence in the 500 block of Mars Avenue in Lubbock, where they contacted Melodee's mother, 35-year-old Ashlee Buzzard. Melodee was not at the home, and no verifiable explanation for her whereabouts was provided. Through their ongoing investigation, detectives have narrowed the critical timeline to between October 7th and 10th. Investigators have confirmed that Ashlee was seen returning to her Lubbock residence on October 10th, driving the same rental vehicle she departed with on October 7th, but Melodee was not in the car. Investigators understand that this 3-day road trip went from Lubbock to the Nebraska area, with the return trip including the state of Kansas. Detectives are now focused on determining where Melodee was during those 3 days and where she may be now. As part of this update, detectives are sharing surveillance images of Melodee captured at a local car rental business on October 7th. In the photo, Melodee is wearing a hooded sweatshirt with the hood pulled up and what appears to be a wig that is darker and straighter than her natural hair. For those keeping score, Melodee's hair is brunette and curly. Investigators believe the wig may have been used to alter her appearance. Detectives also note that Ashlee is known to wear wigs. Sheriff Bill Brown said, "Our detectives are following every lead in the case. We continue to seek information from the public that can help us find Melodee. We remain determined to bring her home safely." Detectives are asking anyone who has seen Melodee or has information about her whereabouts to contact the sheriff's office through one of the following methods. You can call the detectives line at 805-681-4150, 805-681-4150. You can use their anonymous tip line. That number is 805-681-4171. Again, that's 805-681-4171. Or you can you can drop your tips online and still remain anonymous by going to www.sbsheriff.org/home/anonymous-tip. www.sbsheriff.org home anonymous tip. Members of the public are asked not to conduct independent searches or investigations, as doing so can interfere with law enforcement efforts. The best way to help is by sharing factual information directly with detectives. Melodee Buzzard is described as a 9-year-old female, approximately 4 feet 6 inches tall, weighing around 60 pounds, with brown hair and brown eyes. Detectives will continue to provide updates as new information becomes available that does not compromise the integrity of the investigation. Now, like I mentioned, that is from last week. Let's see, do we have any further updates regarding the timeline as well? Let's drop in this check this article courtesy of Newsweek. We're we're really gonna deep dive into this, guys. All right. Courtesy of Newsweek. This is the let's see. Oh, this is just a couple days ago. Melodee Buzzard timeline as clues emerge about the 9-year-old's disappearance. Santa Barbara County Sheriff's Office provided an updated timeline and new information on the disappearance of 9-year-old Melodee Buzzard on, again, this was last Friday. I guess they just published it on Wednesday. Tuesday or Wednesday, excuse me. The context. Officials began investigating after a school administrator reported Buzzard's extended absence. Sheriff's Office said it was focusing on a 3-day period at the conclusion of which Melodee's mother, 35-year-old Ashlee, returned to her home without Melodee. The Sheriff's Office has said Ashlee has been uncooperative and has not provided any information about her daughter's location or well-being. Again, as I mentioned in the sheriff's timeline, Melodee is described as 4 foot 6, weighing around 60 pounds, with brown hair and brown eyes. But you can see in this picture here, the one that's been used by the FBI, Melodee has curly hair, and in the surveillance photo, she was wearing her hooded sweatshirt with the hood up, but you could also see she's wearing a wig with straighter hair and darker than what you see in this picture. Melodee's father, Rubiel Meza, died when she was a baby, according to KEYT. Bridget Truitt, Meza's sister and Melodee's aunt, told the outlet that Ashlee had not let the family see Melodee for a few years. All right, here now we get to the timeline now we get to the timeline that Newsweek has brought us. We started October 7th. Melodee Buzzard was sighted. Santa Barbara Sheriff's Office said Melodee and Ashlee were seen on October 7th. Officials released surveillance images from a local car rental business taken that day. Melodee, as I mentioned, is wearing a hooded sweatshirt with the hood pulled up. The Sheriff's Office says she was wearing what appears to be a darker, straighter wig than her natural hair. Investigators believe the wig may have been used to alter her appearance. Detectives also note that Ashlee is known to wear wigs. Sheriff's Office said October 7th was also the beginning of a 3-day road trip to Nebraska. October 10th, Ashlee Buzzard returns home without her daughter. Santa Barbara Sheriff's Office said Ashlee returned home from a trip on October 10th in the same rental vehicle she left in, but Melodee was not in the car. Officials says return trip included the state of Kansas. Detectives are now focusing on determining where Melodee was during those 3 days and where she may be now. October 14th, school reports Melodee Buzzard's absence. A school administrator reported Melodee's extended absence to officials on October 14th. Deputies responded to the child's home in the 500 block of Mars Avenue in Lubbock. Deputies found Ashlee at the home, but Melodee was not present. Sheriff's office said Ashlee had no verifiable explanation for Melodee's whereabouts. October 15th, detectives served a search warrant at Melodee's residence, but Melodee was not located at the home. October 18th, the FBI joins the investigation. So here's what people are saying. First, Sheriff Bill Brown, as I've read before, our detectives are following every lead in the case. We continue to seek information from the public that can help us find Melodee. We remain determined to bring her home safely. Bridget Truitt, Melodee Buzzard's aunt, in comments to KEYT, says, "We never stop thinking about her or loving her or praying for her." So, what happens next? The search for Melodee is still ongoing. The sheriff's office said detectives will provide updates as new information becomes available that does not compromise the integrity of the investigation. If you have any information, you're asked to call the numbers I've mentioned earlier or submit it online if you still want to remain anonymous. You're, you're asked not to do independent searches or investigations, as doing so could interfere with law enforcement efforts. The best way to help is by sharing factual information directly with the detectives. So, so let's be honest here. As I mentioned, as I mentioned previously, and I say this again tonight, the loudest voice in the room happens to be the most quiet. So, honestly, what in God's name could Ashlee Buzzard be hiding? Aside from the obvious, of course. Let's see how much further we can go with this. Ah, People Magazine's got something. Oh, and this we're gonna dig a little deeper into what the family's been saying. Okay, let me go get this link highlighted, and we'll go right into it, courtesy of People Magazine. All right. Now, before we even get into the article, I want you guys to look at this side by side photo. On your left is the again is the photo that's been used by the FBI in the search for Melodee Buzzard. On your right is the surveillance is the surveillance image. Note the wig and the hoodie. Now here's what we need to know. Melodee was reported missing on October 14th by a local school official. Authorities determined she was with her mom, Ashlee, on a drive across state lines during the initial stage of their disappearance. Security camera footage, which you just saw, obtained by investigators, allegedly shows Melodee in a wig in what police say may have been an attempt to disguise her. Now let's get to the meat. Relatives say the California mother of missing 9-year-old Melodee Buzzard had barred the child's paternal family from seeing her for years. Hmm. Why? That's what I'd like to know. Why? Melodee was reported missing by a school official on October 14th, prompting an intense search for the child across state lines. Investigators responding to her Lubbock, California home met her mother, Ashlee, but there were no signs of the child. Ashlee allegedly was unable to provide a verifiable explanation about the child's whereabouts, according to police. Police say Ashlee has been uncooperative in the investigation, but she has not been named a person of interest in the case and hasn't been charged with a crime in connection with Melodee's disappearance. Again, I ask, why? On top of the fact that she was given a 72-hour time period to produce the child or face charges. Like Julie Grant asked, what's taking so long? Cuff her already. As the search for Melodee intensifies, her relatives are opening up about the circumstances prior to the disappearance. Relatives on Melodee's father's side say Ashlee refused to let them have contact with the child. And that's according to that local outlet KEYT. She hasn't let us see her for a few years, according to Bridget Truitt. That interview was further cited by the Los Angeles Times. And all of us have tried, but we never stopped thinking about her or loving her or prayed for her, Truitt said. Melodee's father, Rubiel Meza, died in a vehicle accident in 2016 when Melodee was just a baby, according to the family. Ashlee's mother, Lori Miranda, told KSBY that she herself hadn't spoken to her grandchild in about 2 years and came to learn about her disappearance after police called her to check Melodee's whereabouts. Here's another surveillance photo of what looks like Melodee in that same hoodie and possibly with the same wig on. Investigators recently said in an update that they believe Melodee's appearance had been altered with a wig before she vanished. As the investigation continues, Melodee's extended family remains hopeful for a return. Miranda told KSBY that she has been holding on to birthday gifts for the child since February. And true to form, Ashlee was not available when People magazine tried to contact her for comment. Now, why do I say true to form? Simple. Like I just said minutes ago, the loudest voice in the room happens to be the most quiet. She's not cooperating with police. She's not crying out for assistance. She's not even saying anything remotely close to please bring my child home. So again, Ashlee, besides the obvious, what are you hiding? I know there's been a number of people outside of your home making the same chant. We want answers. We want answers. Well, guess what? So do authorities. They want answers too. And if you won't give it up voluntarily, they'll get it out of you. Guaranteed. Okay. We're gonna we're gonna move a little bit further and come to find out that there's been new searches conducted at mom's home and the rental car that was used. Oh, this just got very interesting. This just got very interesting and quick. Courtesy of our good friends at ABC News. This is the update I've been itching to break out with. And this was published today on their website. Weeks into the perplexing search for missing 9-year-old Melodee Buzzard, California authorities said they've served follow-up search warrants at her mom's home, a storage locker, and the rental car Melodee was last seen in. Local detectives and FBI agents served the warrants on Thursday because they expected to need access to the home of Melodee's mom, Ashlee, for an extended time. Detectives escorted Ashlee to an alternate location that would not interfere with their ability to conduct a thorough search. That's according to the Santa Barbara County Sheriff's Office. Ashlee Buzzard has not cooperated with the investigation, according to authorities. Melodee is still considered an at-risk missing person, and no arrests have been made, according to the Sheriff's Office on Thursday. Last week, the Sheriff's Office said it had narrowed down the window of Melodee's disappearance between October 7th and October 10th. Surveillance images of Melodee, in which she appears to be wearing a wig, were captured at a Santa Barbara area rental car business on October 7th, according to authorities. Here's that surveillance image again. And the second and most, and in my opinion, the most damning one. The mother and daughter then went on a 3-day road trip from Lubbock, California to the Nebraska area, according to the Sheriff's Office. The return trip went through Kansas, and then Ashlee Buzzard came home to Lubbock on October 10th with the car she and Melodee had rented on October 7th, but Melodee was not with her. I'm telling you, I just have this gut feeling she did something to that child. No, I don't. No, 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 no. I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna let this thing play out, and then drop the bomb when the time comes. Let the whole thing play out, and then I'll say my piece on it. All right. So what I'm gonna do right now, I am going to take you to a whole set of interviews and commentary from one of my favorites at Court TV. I always
He's the reason that our city is dissolving. But when people lose their apartments in public housing and they don't have their food stamps and they can't get Medicaid, you're going to blame Trump? How about the fact that maybe you didn't sit down and try to negotiate with him and understand? And you pay respect, you'll get respect. Look, I've had a love-hate relationship with Donald Trump that goes back 40 years. And by the way, his vice president, J.D. Vance, in 20.
okay. We didn't need to hear all that. This is not a politics channel, and I apologize for not catching this a moment earlier. We're going to right now go right to my main man, 50 grand, Vinny Politan, in this edition of Vinny Politan Investigates, asking the same question that we've been asking all this time. Where is Melodee?
St. George, Utah. Now, as you navigate through Utah, you hit the Fish Lake National Forest as you continue on up through. Now, you go through Utah, hop on Interstate 70. Now, 70 will take you through Grand Junction, Colorado, through the White River National Forest, all the way through to Denver. So we've hit coastline, we've hit desert, we've hit forest, and Vinny, of course, we know in Denver, it's full of mountains out there at the Rocky Mountains. And then, of course, our reference point, you keep going on over through to Omaha, Nebraska. Now, Vinny, as with any investigation, the police call upon the public to help out with anything that they've seen, anything they may have heard on Facebook. This woman called in with a tip. Her name's Michelle Purdy. She says, quote, "I swear I saw this girl in Nebraska City on Sunday at the very end of one of the parking lot lanes at Walmart. I've already submitted the tip. I included my phone number in the tip. Is there anything else I should do?" Now, Vinny, remember the police said that the return trip from Nebraska dipped down into Kansas. So we just wanted to see where Nebraska City was in relation to everything. So we go back to the map. Nebraska City, you see there, is south, about 45 miles south of Omaha, down toward Kansas. So very interesting there, Vinny, with this tip coming in. But the other interesting thing, Vinny, is that this whole trip, one way from Lompoc to Omaha, is a 27-hour drive. And that's according to Google Maps on the quickest route to take. And I even took it upon myself to we don't know exactly. We don't know they went to Omaha. We just know they went to Nebraska. I looked at a city right across the Colorado Nebraska line, in Imperial, Nebraska. And even then, one way is still 22 hours, Vinny. So very strange to take a trip that long by car over a 72-hour period, over a 3-day period.
Yeah. Cody, great analysis of that route. Appreciate it. And that brings us to the first question in our investigation tonight. And obviously the most important question, where is Melodee Buzzard? She got in the car, she started, went on the route, did not return. Here to help answer that question, Scripps News Group reporter Crystal Bermudez, who's been on this case since the beginning, covering it more in depth than anyone else in the nation. She's in Santa Barbara County. Also with us, retired FBI Special Agent Bobby Chacon, who specialized in searches. I'm going to begin with Bobby. Bobby, FBI is in on this one. How are they approaching this search with the information that she took this 3-day drive from Lompoc in Santa Barbara County to Nebraska to Kansas and back home?
Well, Vinny, the first crucial information they have is the mileage in on the car and the mileage out, right? So when she signed the car out, there's a certain mileage, and then when she turned it back in, there's the ending mileage. So they know exactly how many miles she traveled in that car. So like your reporter said, when they start putting that together, they can actually see, did she make it this far? Because it's an out and back. So it's an easy kind of halfway kind of, because they know the mileage. So then that's where you first start. and you see all the different routes she may have taken with that mileage out and back. And then you start looking at maybe her cell phone was pinging off towers. If she was traveling with a cell phone, it could lead them to, certain areas that they want to take a closer look at.
Let me ask you, Crystal, the image of her, that's at the rental car facility, correct? And there's an alteration to her appearance?
Yeah, Vinny, that's correct. So the images that are now surfacing that detectives have shared with the public was from a local car rental agency in Lompoc. The only one in Lompoc is Enterprise. I have reached out to Enterprise to see if they can give me more context as Melodee and Ashlee entered that day for the car rental, but I haven't gotten word back. But from what spokesperson Raquel Zick had informed me was that she does appear in those images wearing a wig. It's much different from her natural hair texture and color. It's straighter, it's darker, and in this one image on your screen right now, it is tucked in a gray hoodie. So one thing Raquel did point out is that this is a very distinct look. You can tell it's a bit off, and so that's why they are encouraging the public to recollect their memories if they have seen this particular outfit along with this wig. And Raquel did mention to me that Ashlee Buzzard was known for wearing wigs. Detectives have confirmed that as well. So we see one of those wigs here on Melodee in these images.
So Bobby, as you sort of narrow down what you feel the route may be, how extensive can you be? Like, do you start looking for surveillance video? Are you looking for license plate readers? How do you get the cooperation from all the potential municipalities and departments involved in this?
I mean, you start to see what a monumental task this could be, but this is kind of what the FBI does at times. And you throw a lot of manpower at it. You get all the different areas, and we've already seen some of the results where a woman sees this picture and she calls in a tip. I mean, that's what we need people to do. But now we have you try to narrow down that area so that people become more attentive in that area where you think these people may be. So that's what they're doing now. They're trying to narrow down those areas, and then you can kind of flood it with, investigators who say, do you have, video? Did she stop for gas? So you look, cars run on gasoline, so you have to look at all the gas stations that she may have pulled off. She's probably traveling by interstate. If she went out and back that quick, she's probably on major highways, interstates. And so you look at those interstates that she could have traveled on. The short time distance kind of helps in that respect, because we know she didn't take a lot of detours through country roads. She had to move fast. And so you look at those highways, you look at the gas stations where she may have refilled her tank and things like that. So you start to narrow it down. It is a monumental task, but it can be done if you have the manpower to do it.
Crystal, is there any significance to any of the cities on the way there or on the way back that have some connection or nexus to Ashlee, to Melodee, to the family, to where she may have lived before?
Yeah, Vinny. So I actually got in contact with her mother, Lori Miranda, which is Ashlee Buzzard's mother, in regards to this trip, if she knew any whereabouts or why she would make a trip that far out. She did tell me she wasn't aware or knew of anyone that Ashlee may know in regards to any states along the route up into Nebraska or even Kansas, which was the stop they made Ashlee had made on her return trip. She wasn't familiar with anyone that they may know in Kansas. She did tell me, however, they did have family in Las Vegas. So she believed maybe in the past she would get these car rentals and drive as far out as to Las Vegas. But as far as any other states that may have stood out along that route, she wasn't able to recollect any memories of her knowing someone in those areas or why she would need to travel that far out.
So, Bobby, that would seem to be interesting, right? Significant. She has some familiarity with Vegas, but obviously you're in Vegas, but you end up in Nebraska. How much effort would you put towards kind of canvassing Vegas?
A lot, and I would be looking at her contacts on her phones or texts, or internet searches. Did she reach out for somebody? Did she meet somebody online recently that her mom may not know about? And did she travel to that person? And so I'd be looking at all of those things, but certainly Vegas is, with that information that she has family that she's visited previously, I would certainly focus on that. But that can be kind of done fairly quickly. And so if that hasn't been fruitful, then they've got to kind of take those next steps and go further east on this trip and continue that search. Look at her search histories. Did she search for any areas around this route? Did she meet anybody that might live online along this route or somewhere in this area? All of those things are being done.
And one last question, Bobby, before we run out of time here. The rental car. From my perspective, I'm not a detective, I'm not an investigator, but it seems like there's a positive and a negative to it, right? The rental car companies do sort of track their cars to a certain extent. But then when you return them, the first thing they do is clean these things up. What are your thoughts about getting any sort of valuable evidence from the rental car?
Well, I mean, and we know that like they probably don't clean it to the extent that a criminal that's trying to execute some forensic countermeasures would clean them. Like they don't take bleach to the inside of the car, for example, right? So I think that they vacuum, they kind of wipe it down. But if there was any like forensic, now the kid was in the car, so you're not looking for hair or things like that because you would expect to find that. You're looking for blood and other bodily fluids that may have been a result of an injury. And so that stuff you can wipe off, but you're not going to cover it up with a detailed examination.
Bobby Chacon, always great to have your insight. Thank you so much. Crystal's going to stick around. Coming up next, is Ashlee Buzzard dealing with mental issues?
The house was in disarray. There were raw eggs in pans. There was rotten food in the fridge that I think she was trying to give my granddaughter.
I ended up asking him
looking for answers, but you know, we're showing up today so that way, you know, she knows we care. We're here for Melodee, and hopefully she will come out and tell us where she's at.
Very concerned neighbors for obvious reasons. There's a 9-year-old girl supposed to be living in that house, and no one knows where well, someone knows where she is, but no one is saying where she is. I want you to take a listen to this. This is Ashlee Buzzard's mother, okay? So this will be Melodee's maternal grandmother speaking about Ashlee.
He said, "Did you know that your granddaughter was missing?" And I said, "Missing?" He goes, "When's the last time you talked to your daughter?" I said, "I don't know, 2 years, a year and a half ago." The psychologist that I was seeing said, I said, "Should I be keeping these things? I keep buying them for Christmas and her birthday." She said, "If you keep them for her, she'll know that when she was gone, you were thinking about her." So that's why I keep them. But sometimes I wonder, am I going nuts, right? About 15 minutes later, a sheriff calls me. He says, "I'm at your daughter's house in Orchid, and I was just getting ready to take your granddaughter Melodee with me to CPS because we're getting ready to take your daughter to the hospital." The house was in disarray. There were raw eggs in pans. There was rotten food in the fridge that I think she was trying to give my granddaughter.
That's the grandma talking about something. This is completely separate from the disappearance of Melodee Buzzard. This is another instance where the sheriff is very concerned about Ashlee and her ability to care for Melodee. That brings us to the next question in our investigation. Is Ashlee Buzzard dealing with mental health issues? With us to help answer that question, still with us, is Scripps News Group reporter Crystal Bermudez, who is live in Santa Barbara County. Also joining us, licensed clinical psychologist Dr. Jamie Zuckerman. Thank you both. All right, Crystal, can you give us a little more insight? You've been speaking to a lot of family members, and from what I gather, it seems like all of them sort of acknowledge that there is some level of mental health that Ashlee is dealing with. Did anyone talk about a specific diagnosis? Did they talk about what they've observed?
Yeah, and that sit-down interview with Lori Miranda, Ashlee Buzzard's mother, Melodee's maternal grandmother, she was talking to me about a situation, a separate situation, as you mentioned, that occurred back in 2016 when she received a phone call from an officer telling her to come to her residence at the time. She had lived in Orchid, California. And when she arrived, she describes what she had seen. The house was, quote unquote, in disarray. There was rotten food in the fridge, and she had believed that she was feeding that food to her oldest daughter, Ashlee's oldest daughter, Destiny. I did learn along the way as I was speaking with Lori that Ashlee did lose custody of that oldest daughter. I have been trying to get in contact with her, but haven't had much luck. But I did want to share a statement from Ashlee's aunts and other family members. They shared this with me earlier last week, and in part they wrote, quote, "As reported, after giving birth to Melodee, Ashlee experienced the loss of Melodee's father 6 months later. We believe she may have been experiencing untreated postpartum depression in addition to the grief from the loss of Melodee's father on top of her mental health struggles. All this while trying to do her best to hold it all together as a single mom with little resources, end quote. And there's a full statement up on one of my articles on ksby.com, but Lori did talk to me about bipolar disorder that Ashlee may have had. She talked about one time taking her to the mental hospital, and that's where she had been diagnosed by a psychiatrist. But when I mentioned to her the statement that was brought to my attention by other family members, which would be Melodee's aunts from her mother's side, she told me she has not been in contact with these family members, and she was not made aware of this statement, but did appreciate the statement that was passed along to me.
Dr. Jamie Zuckerman, okay, let's talk about this now. How do you figure out what's going on with mom? Because the big issue, obviously, is that her daughter's missing, and she's just not talking to anyone.
Yeah, I think being uncooperative, regardless, is a red flag. And I said this before, that it's really a question of, is she hiding her or is she harming her? And we don't have enough information. We have family reports, but they haven't seen her in a long time. So per the family, she has mental health issues. And yes, it could be untreated postpartum from 2016, when Melodee's father died in an accident. We have to question, are there drugs and alcohol involved? Is it more of a serious mental illness like a bipolar disorder and a manic episode, or schizophrenia, which would result in paranoid delusions or disorganized thinking, disorganized behavior? So that could make sense. But we just don't have enough information to explain why she would do this, and more importantly, why she's being uncooperative. I think the bigger question is this because of a serious mental illness, or is this action of taking her child and driving across states something that is a deliberate and purposeful attempt to hide her, or, give her to somebody, or harm her for her own benefit? And I think that's the bigger question that we're waiting on.
Let me ask you this, doctor. If in fact she is suffering from some level of mental illness and is treated, through treatment, could that perhaps change her posture here? And would that perhaps be a road to getting her to talk about what happened to Melodee, whether it's treatment through, speaking with her, whether there's any sort of drugs that she would need? Is that a possible road to getting to the truth here, if she is suffering from some serious mental illness?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to depend, obviously, on the diagnosis. If it's schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, medications would be very helpful to stabilize her. It may require hospitalization. It would, obviously decrease any type of paranoid delusions. It would improve her cognition and her thinking. And so yes, that could absolutely help. If it is, however, unrelated to serious mental illness, and it's more of harming her daughter in some way for her own benefit, that's a different issue. That's something that, is reflective of something that probably can't be treated.
Dr. Jamie Zuckerman, thank you so much. We know your time is valuable. We appreciate it. Crystal is going to stick around, folks. Still to come. Can law enforcement compel Ashlee Buzzard to speak? I'm Vinny Politan. We continue our investigation of the disappearance of Melodee Buzzard and her mother's complete lack of cooperation. Here's the story. Across country drive turned into a haunting mystery. 9-year-old Melodee Buzzard disappeared after leaving California with her mother, Ashlee. Investigators say Ashlee returned home alone, offering few details about the trip or her daughter's whereabouts. Now an urgent search stretches from Santa Barbara County to the fields of the Midwest, with drones, dogs, and volunteers refusing to give up. As clues dry up and timelines blur, one question echoes halfway across the country. What happened to Melodee Buzzard? And again, the person who can answer this is Ashlee, her mother, but she is not cooperating. She's not talking. Let's check back in with Court TV field reporter Cody Thomas, who's been following this case. All right, Cody, we've seen a lot of instances of her not speaking to people, trying to talk to her. Let's run through them if we can.
Yeah, Vinny, we've seen that on several occasions now. People trying to go up to her house. Sometimes she answers the door. Sometimes she doesn't. Let's take a look at some of them. Here we're going to see a family member. We're going to see Scripps News Group's own Crystal Bermudez, who we're going to speak with again shortly. We're going to see law enforcement and child welfare services all making an attempt to speak with her. Let's take a look.
While we were talking, Ashlee Buzzard came out of the house.
Ashlee?
And Karina quickly approached her.
Ashlee. It's Karina. I just want to see if you're okay. If Melodee's okay, how you guys are doing. Do you have the time to speak with me?
Although she did not answer questions about Melodee, Ashlee stated she was feeling overwhelmed and stressed and told Karina she did not appreciate her being parked outside when she did not want to communicate with her.
Wait, this is my number right here. If you ever want to talk to me, I want a relationship with Melodee, please. Please, Ashlee. Is she okay? Are you okay?
Did she mention anything about Melodee?
No, she didn't. I did ask her if Melodee is okay, as well if she's okay, but she did not answer.
Mesa says she's now left with even more questions.
I feel sad, you know, like I wish she would have just told me, like, is she okay? That's all I want to know, is if my sister is okay. Ashlee, I'm gonna get going now.
And in a final attempt to contact Ashlee, Karina knocked on her door once more.
With Lily and that side of the family either. And I would love to have a relationship with Melodee and you. We can get together and hang out with the kids. Please take my number at the door so we can talk. I'm here for you and Melodee.
When I knocked, there was no answer.
Hey, my friend, you came back.
And Vinny, I don't want it to be lost upon our viewers that this is a woman, this is a mother whose daughter is missing. And she's acting in this way. It's just so weird. But we also heard from a spokesperson with the investigating agency in this case speaking about Ashlee Buzzard's lack of cooperation. Let's take a listen.
We have been in constant and consistent contact with Ashlee, of course, asking, the where is Melodee questions consistently. She does still remain uncooperative.
And Vinny, regardless of all of this, it is important to remember that this case has still not grown into a criminal investigation into Ashlee Buzzard, at least yet.
No, it hasn't. And for a lot of people, this is very, very confusing. I have a lot of questions about it. Cody Thomas, thanks so much. Great job. That brings us to the next question in our investigation. Can law enforcement compel Ashlee Buzzard to speak? Or can they put some pressure on her to speak? Here to help answer that question, former federal prosecutor, president of the West Coast Trial Lawyers, Nima Rahmani, and former Los Angeles County Deputy Public Defender Philip Dubé. I got my California kids with us tonight. Let's roll up our sleeves on this one. Nima, answer the question, because can law enforcement compel her to speak? You've got a child, you have sole custody, and no one knows where your child is.
Vinny, they can't compel her to speak. And I want to be careful how I say this, because I know Philip is going to make sure that Ashlee has all her constitutional rights protected, but they can certainly pressure her and lean on her. And it's really going to depend on whether Melodee is alive. I'm going to be honest. If she is, I cut some sort of deal to return her home. The child's safety is paramount. And even if she's not...
Wait, how do you cut a deal with someone who won't... How do you cut a deal with someone who won't talk? Like she's saying nothing. She doesn't even answer the door.
Well, what you do is you contact her through law enforcement, and law enforcement make all sorts of different promises and threats, Vinny, and usually you got the DA behind them telling them what to do. So you tell her, listen, this is going to go one of two ways. You either provide us the information, or you're going to be arrested and charged with neglect and eventually murder. So it's up to you. Now, oftentimes people will start talking. They'll get a good lawyer like Philip, and they'll know that it's not a matter of if, but a matter of when they're going to be arrested and charged. You have to use the leverage you have as a prosecutor, as law enforcement, to get the information you need to save Melodee's life.
You know, Philip, in many of these cases, there's usually a couple of parents involved. They may be in a custody battle. There may be other people involved. Here, it's just a mom and her daughter. She basically removed her daughter from school, was homeschooling, then went on this trip. Apparently, Melodee didn't come home. What can be done to get her to speak, to have her understand? Listen, we just want to know where Melodee is.
There is another route, and they cannot use the police to try to tell her to give an interview or make statements. But what they can do is they can get DFS social workers go into county counsel's office to file a 300 petition. They have to make a showing that this child is in danger of substantial risk of harm to self or to emotional health.
Philip, I'm just going to stop you for 1 second. Philip, your audio's kind of coming in and out, so maybe I'm going to give it one more shot because we're missing like half the words, and I know you've got the answer here. So let's try it one more time. Maybe just get a little closer to the mic, wherever it is.
Well, I told the tech folks it's an issue. Can you hear me okay?
It's not great. It's not great, Philip. But go ahead. Okay. We'll give it a shot.
It's not. Here's the bottom line. They can go through the dependency. If she fails to appear, they can issue a warrant. If they pick her up on the warrant, the judge in the dependency court can force her to say where the child is or keep her. Okay. If the court is convinced that she's provided all known information, the court has to release her. But for now, there is no evidence that this child is facing substantial danger. So there is no foundation to bring a petition. Just none. So absent that type of foundation showing, the court's out of it and the cops are in.
All right, we got most of that, Philip.
I'm going to be honest with you.
Go ahead, finish up.
I believe that child is fine.
Nima, do you agree? Nima, do you think Melodee could be fine right now?
No. Yeah, and by the way, I know what Philip is talking about. I can give a summary. My wife is actually minors counsel in dependency court. So dependency court is when they terminate parental rights. That's the most extreme action, when they take your child away from you. So it's a civil proceeding. It's before a judge. So Philip is right. They can bring the mother before the dependency court and they can compel her to testify. And if she doesn't, they can terminate the rights. The problem is that doesn't really matter if the child is missing or dead and mom doesn't care. So it is another route. It's not the biggest hammer that the government has, but it's certainly one, and an important one as well. Dependency is important. You can, like I said, bring the mom. It's an important proceeding. It's actually the only type of proceeding outside a criminal case where the government's going to give you a lawyer. It's that important. But I still think the criminal justice system is the way to go, to lean on someone like this, because look, I don't want to bring up other cases, Vinny, and Philip says that she's alive, but we've covered cases in Florida, we've covered cases in Idaho. We know how this story ends. 8 times out of 10, the child is dead. So I hope that's not the case, but often, I've been doing this long enough, and you and I, Vinny, we've covered so many of these cases. I would be surprised as more time passes by if we do end up finding Melodee.
All right, Nima Rahmani, thank you so much. Philip Dubé, you did a great job negotiating the technical difficulties, and we got to get your point across. Thanks so much, Philip. All right, coming up next, will the family be able to convince Ashlee Buzzard to speak?
We love you. We're here for you.
And we've got experts saying on the one side, you can't coerce her, you can't force her, you can lean on her to be able to say something in regards to Melodee's whereabouts. The other side, nah, you really can't do that because of the circumstances in the case, and basically there's another way to go about it. Honestly, I'd rather stick with getting law enforcement to do it, because if they can't do it, if they can't do it, and Melodee is still out there, who knows what's happening? Who knows what's happening with her? Keeping in mind the FBI, and I'm gonna bring that poster up a little bit later. The FBI still has her listed as missing and at risk. Just so you know. So, if law enforcement can't do it, can the family get her to talk? Let's go back in. Let's see what we can get.
Sunday nights on Court TV. Join us for a night of food, friends, and our favorite legal drama. It's Order in the Court, and this week...
I'm Dr. Jason Bull. I study a jury's behavioral patterns. Just give me more. Not guilty, thank you. The verdict you get depends on me. You don't get a name like Bull because you give up before the game is over.
We're binge-watching Bull, Sunday starting at 6, 5 Central on Court TV.
As a mother, my mom heart absolutely cannot take this. I felt really inclined to step in. My hope was to make contact with the mother, maybe to be helpful.
That's one of Ashlee and Melodee Buzzard's neighbors saying she wanted to step in. She wanted to help. I mean, everyone wants to help. Everyone would do whatever necessary to find this 9-year-old girl. I want you to take a listen to some of the family members. And remember Ashlee's situation. The father of Melodee died when Melodee was 6 months old, but the father's family is involved here as well. So let's take a listen to some of the family members talking about Melodee and trying to find her.
He said, "Did you know that your granddaughter was missing?" And I said, "Missing?" He goes, "When's the last time you talked to your daughter?" I said, "I don't know, 2 years, a year and a half ago."
We haven't seen her in over 4 years due to the mother not allowing the family to see her. She has a beautiful smile. She's very friendly, very loving, very welcoming. She loved to be around her family.
And she's listening. We love you. We're here for you. And we just want you to be happy and call me. This is my baby boy. And he's gone, and she was just a baby. But here, I took this picture at the hospital. I walking in, and he said, Mom, wait, Mom. I know your daddy's watching you from heaven. I love you, baby.
That brings us to the next question in our investigation tonight. Will the family be able to convince Ashlee Buzzard to speak? How about her family? If police can't do it, if child welfare services can't do it, if neighbors can't do it. Here to help with our investigation, Scripps News Group reporter Crystal Bermudez, and also joining us, national trial attorney, jury consultant, defense attorney Madeline Somerville. Let me ask you, Crystal, did you get any sense from speaking with all the family members on both sides that any of them will be able to get through to Ashlee and maybe make that connection and get her to speak and to talk about Melodee and perhaps provide the answer?
Yeah, great question, Vinny. I feel like in the time that I've been there in the last 2 weeks, the only contact that I have been able to see just a bit successful in hearing Ashlee speak was from Karina Meza, Melodee's oldest sister from her father's side. When Karina went to knock on the door, that's when Ashlee spoke for the first time, at least with someone of a family member in that regard, and told her she didn't appreciate her being outside and parked and trying to make contact. She wished her well, and also wished her and her children well. Karina does have children as well, that she was telling me Melodee and her kids used to play just before they were cut off from having contact with Melodee. But this was one of the rare interactions I have seen Ashlee actually speak back to a family member who was checking in to see if she was okay, if Melodee was okay. And during that interaction, Karina was really pleading in this moment, telling her, I just want to have a relationship with you and Melodee. Let's get a chance to get together. Please get in contact with me. I'm leaving my number on your door. So this was one, I would say, Vinny, one of those interactions that I think we were able to see some sort of feedback from Ashlee in that moment.
Madeline, what are your thoughts here about the way this has developed? It's really unusual. I've never seen anything quite like it. Sometimes in a custody battle, things like this. There's no custody battle. She had custody of her 9-year-old daughter. What are your thoughts about convincing her to speak here?
Yeah, and we're not at trial. So we're trying to use certain mechanisms that perhaps are premature in order to be able to get her to speak. And so if we're talking about the family getting involved, there's a couple ways that can happen. Families can work with prosecutors to try to fill in gaps that the prosecutor might need, and the prosecutor can try to subpoena her or use other court mechanisms to be able to get documents that she might be like, or records from credit cards that she might have used along the way to try to be able to, again, fill in those gaps in the story. But the family, obviously, really no one can compel anyone to get words out of their mouth. They have to speak them themselves. And that's why it becomes so difficult. But the thing that's different about family members or people that might know her is that they're usually really good at coaxing out the truth because they make people feel safe. The only time that confessions really happen is when people feel safe. My personal concern here is with the issue of sex trafficking. I'm concerned that that's what happened here. I'm obviously not sure. That's just my speculation from having reviewed the case, but I'm sincerely hoping that the family will be able to convince her you will be safe with whatever's going to happen to you regardless. And we just need to make sure that Melodee will be okay.
Crystal, before we run out of time here, we have about 30 seconds left. Did the family give you any indication as to why there was this sort of breakaway by Ashlee from the rest of her family? Because it seems like at some point they were all getting along.
Yeah, at least from the father's side, they have continuously repeated to me that it was Ashlee, the mother in this situation, that cut off all the communication just about 4 years ago. Lori Miranda, Ashlee's mother, tells me it was because she no longer understood her daughter, and for her own safety, she felt like it was best to step away. And other family members from the mother's side tell me they have had contact with her as early as just 2 years ago. So it's a bit unclear why this is so much separation is here present with Melodee, but from my understanding, it seems that Ashlee has really distanced herself, and her mother describes at least the mother's side of the family as dysfunctional. But I do want to mention one thing, Vinny.
Crystal, we're out of time.
All right.
I'm so sorry. We'll do it again. You know we'll do it again. Thanks so much, Crystal Bermudez, Madeline Somerville. Ashlee Buzzard knows what happened. She knows where she took Melodee, and that's what makes all of this so frustrating. A little girl's missing, and her mother's doing nothing to find her. We've seen this way too many times. Never ends well for the children, but I will continue to hope she is alive and can be found. I think all of us need to. I'm Vinny Politan. We'll keep digging for answers as the investigation continues.
And me following this case, I'm not going to stop until the last answer is finally answered, which is, where is Melodee? Now, before I leave you tonight, I want to drop in one more interview, and it's going to be pretty shocking to say the least. They're going to talk to the son of Lori Vallow Daybell. Now, I know you're thinking, what would the son of Lori Vallow Daybell have to do with this case? Well, it's safe to say that he's been on this end before. He's seen this before. And he's going to be the first to tell you that the similarities between missing Melodee and his mother's case are pretty scary, to say the least.
We have not been able to locate the child as of yet. We are in contact with the mom, but we've not been able to determine the whereabouts of the 9-year-old.
We are shining a spotlight on the possible parallels in the case of Melodee Buzzard and the infamous Doomsday Murders. So Melodee Buzzard's family members continue to be hopeful this morning, praying for her safe return. Investigators are focusing in on a road trip that she took with her mom. Her mom returned to California without her. So here's a photo from, this was a car rental business, and surveillance footage captured Melodee appearing to wear a wig with straighter hair. She has beautiful curly hair that we've seen her in the pictures. That's her natural hair. This, investigators believe, was a disguise. She's also got the hood up. Now, this news has been circulating all over the country, and Colby Ryan, the only surviving child of Lori Vallow Daybell, has compared Melodee's case to that of his siblings, JJ and Tylee, while speaking with our friend Ashlee Banfield on her show Banfield on News Nation.
A parent should be able to show you their child within a couple of seconds or know where they are at all times. The fearful thing is seeing them for a short amount of time and then them disappearing and all the families wondering. You know, just the similarities are scary. I will personally tell you that I hope that is not the case. I never want to see what happened to my family repeated, but it's hard to hear it because there's, for me personally, just too many similarities.
Colby Ryan, he's a really, really sweet guy. He has been through so much trauma losing his siblings and certainly understands this is a position no one wants to find themselves in. So take a look at this. This is the timeline of some of the key moments. So October 7th was the day that photo was taken that I just showed you, where she appears to be wearing the wig, and they're at the rental car business. So mom rents a car, travels to Nebraska with her daughter Melodee, and then she comes back home without her. We know that a week later, on the 14th of October, there was a welfare check requested by the school district. Melodee, of course, not found. So now we know police need to get involved here. So detectives searched the residence on the 15th. Melodee not found there, and mom is not cooperating. The FBI joins in on October 18th. Good on them, because there could be the crossing of state lines and potentially committing criminal activity here. We'll see what the facts show. On October 22nd, Melodee remaining an at-risk missing person, according to investigators. Mom still uncooperative. And I remember last week there was a report, I believe it was the Daily Mail, reported that mom was given 72 hours to produce her daughter or face arrest. Cuff her already. Let's bring in our guest. Let's bring in retired NYPD Sergeant Joe Giacalone to talk about this. Sarge, should she be a caller?
Well, she's going to be eventually. I think they're holding off until they can, make their case. Unless she's a flight risk, I don't see what we would refer to as dropping paper on her just to hold her. I'm sure that the detectives have sat down with the district attorney and have gone through all the different scenarios. And yes, we can have a child neglect and we can have all those charges, but how long will they be able to hold her on those? So I think, patience is going to play out here. There is a lot of evidence that needs to be gathered in this case. We have the rental car, which is your movable crime scene. Listen, they had to stop for gas, food, bathroom breaks. So trying to figure out where those locations potentially were to see if there was video of any time that they can actually see Melodee, maybe in the car or she gets out of the car. So then the investigators can pinpoint a little bit closer to where they think Melodee might be. And that's going to be painstaking. Easy pass records, if there's any tolls on the roads. There is so much data that they're going to have to get, cell phone records, you name it. So it's going to take a while to cull through all that information.
Definitely, Sarge. Sarge, I got to tell you, what I'm most fearful of for this child is trafficking. Do you have any suspicion that her mother could have taken her to Nebraska for those purposes and sold her, left her with someone?
I think it's going to be a theory of the investigators for sure, and this is where cell phone records, internet records are going to play a role in that, because if you're going to try to pull off something like that, there's going to be an electronic trail to that kind of behavior. So, they're going to have to get the subpoenas from all these companies, and they're going to have to cull through it. Either way, I don't think this ends well, unfortunately. So let's just hope that she is alive and okay, and then they'll have to deal with the consequences of what happened to her afterwards. And right now it's just the investigators need to find her and figure out exactly what happened here.
Yes. I have a clip from Melodee's half-sister, Franz Borghardt, joining us as well. Franz, I'll come to you on the other side of this clip. So this is Melodee's half-sister had an encounter with Ashlee Buzzard during an interview with a local TV station. So let's roll this clip, and you're going to see that Ashlee has no interest in talking.
Ashlee, it's Karina. I just want to see if you're okay. If Melodee's okay, how you guys are doing. Do you have the time to speak with me?
Ooh, okay. Clearly dismissing her as well. Look at that. I mean, who acts like that? Franz, what do you think when you see this clip, please?
Oh, this one always gets me on both sides, because on the one hand, the human response is to acknowledge something, right? To respond. On the other hand, I don't know that I would respond much differently, Julie, and let me explain. If you show up to a house or my house with a camera and you're trying to get sound bites, I don't necessarily know that if I'm in that situation, I want to talk to you either. So, it's a double-edged sword, ultimately horrible optics, but candidly, if it ever gets before a jury, I think it can be explained away as look, this is a very difficult time. You're showing up to my house. I don't want to talk to the media. I don't want to be a sound bite. And, at the end of the day, though, it doesn't look great.
Now, this is awful. And so Karina Meza is the concerned family member. She is Melodee's half-sister, and so she's knocking on the door trying to get mom to talk. I read that dad is deceased, and Melodee's father has been deceased for a long time, so dad's not in the picture here. Franz, in terms of legally getting mom to open up, she's not willingly talking to family. She's not talking to authorities. Legally, is there anything you can think of that could nudge her to speak?
If you hook her and book her, that may make it real for her. And ultimately, if your priority is finding the child or finding out what happened to the child, right now there's this air of, hey, she's probably going to get arrested, but it's not real yet, right? It's not until you're being booked, until the cold steel is on your wrist. It's not real. And if you want her to possibly open up, if you have enough to arrest her, if you have probable cause, I'd go on and arrest her and then hope that she starts divulging information during a very well orchestrated interrogation, which hopefully will find out what happened to this missing little 9-year-old.
Yeah, I'm with you, Franz. Arrest this mother. Sarge, tell me, let's say they don't. Let's say, you were saying earlier that could be that they're just kind of going to let things play out. They're building their case. If she's not a flight risk, not so concerned. What about surveillance of her? Can we assume that she's being surveilled around the clock, Sarge?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, this is what I was referring to before. Is she's not a flight risk. As soon as she becomes a flight risk, I think that's when they'll move in. But they have to just, they'd be very careful with that. But also, remember, when somebody's free like this, they think that maybe there isn't any evidence against them and they make a mistake. They make a phone call, they send that text message, or they do an email that they shouldn't. So I just think that patience will win out the day in this in regards to what happens with the mother. Now, with the child is a whole different situation. It's a frantic search for her and to find out exactly what happened with it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so heartbreaking. And you see this sibling of hers brokenhearted, and there's neighbors, people in the community are brokenhearted. We've seen them protesting outside of mom's house, and it is reminiscent of when JJ and Tylee were missing, and Colby Ryan, I'm sure, remembers well, where everybody is pleading for them. Where are the kids? Where are the kids? And Lori and Chad were off in Hawaii, and we were saying no good parent is going to act like that. And look at the result. Let's hope the result isn't the same on this one. Great discussion with you both. Franz, stand by, please. Sergeant Joe Jackalone, we got to say goodbye and thank you to you. Appreciate you coming on the show this morning. We'll see you soon.
Well, there you have it, guys. The search continues, the investigation continues, and we're not going to rest until Melodee is found safe and sound, or Ashlee Buzzard is brought to justice. There's no two ways around it. And I gotta agree with Franz when he said the best way to get Ashlee to cooperate is to hook her and book her, or as I said earlier, quoting the iconic Sheriff Roscoe P. Coltrane, cuff her and stuff her. But still, the question remains, and it's gonna remain until she's found. Where is Melodee Buzzard? That's all I got. That's all I got for the final word. I'm Ernest Bethea. Thank you so much for joining me here tonight, this early Saturday morning. And I urge you all once again to take time to help out in the search for Melodee Buzzard. If you have any information at all regarding her whereabouts, don't do anything yourself. You may be obstructing investigation. What I want you to do is call 911 immediately. If you want to get through quicker, what I want you to do then is call the Santa Barbara County. I done dipped away from that. I want you to call the Santa Barbara Sheriff's Criminal Investigations Division. That number, once again, is 805-681-4150. 805-681-4150. If you want to remain anonymous, you can call the tip line. That number, 805-681-4171. 805-681-4171, excuse me, or drop in your tip at www.sbsheriff.org/home/anonymous-tip. And speaking of anonymous tips, if you still want to remain anonymous, you can go through the FBI through their tip line. That's a 24-hour a day number, and that number is 1-800-CALL-FBI, 1-800-225-5324, or you can submit your tip online there anonymously. That's tips.fbi.gov. tips.fbi.gov. But as always, I make the same plea for every missing persons case, and I'm making the same plea for all true crime cases. Please, if you see something, please say something. That way we can do something. Let's do everything we can. Let's bring Melodee Buzzard home safe. Again, that's coming straight from the heart of the last outlaw. Again, I thank you all so much for joining me. I look forward to seeing you again real soon. But for now, let's remember what this is about, right? It's all about seeking justice. So until next time, remember, this is Bethea'S Byte. There you go. This is Bethea'S Byte. And it's reloaded.
Thank you all for joining me here at the Drama-Free True Crime Destination. Be sure to follow Bethea'S Byte Reloaded all over social media and get your coverage of true crime news with no gimmicks, no drama, and no BS. This is Bethea'S Byte, and it's reloaded.